been a part of the South Milwaukee High School scene since the 1950s. With the presentation of HMS Pinafore in 1957, Donald G. Steenke, who was to spend the next 30 years as General Director and Director of Vocal Music, built on this tradition. I'm Connie Uren, Director of Dramatics and Costuming for 27 musicals. I am joined in this narration by Lou Muldoon, Director of Makeup and Publicity Coordinator, and Jim Toth, Director of Scenic Design and Artistic Construction. These recollections are dedicated to the hundreds of people who shared the hard work, the excitement, and the memories, beginning in the days when grades kindergarten through 12 were all housed in the present middle school building. Thanks to all who chased the rainbow and found the bluebird.
Was a bright blue sky and a lark sang high, and above there was blossom laden. And I had my eye on a very pretty maiden.
Springtime meant showtime at SM, but planning began months before. We selected shows carefully, taking into consideration cast possibilities, technical and staging limitations, costuming challenges, and difficulty of score. Some favorite shows were passed over yearly for one of the above reasons. Don and I tried to select shows which reflected a positive outlook and solid values, and by doing so, demonstrated our commitment to helping students to understand themselves and to appreciate others. Through participation in these musicals, they improved vocal skills, learned teamwork, experienced situations and emotions which reflected life, and accepted personal challenges. Nothing invokes fear like performing before peers in an audition, nor is as rewarding as surviving the challenge. A participant later wrote,
I was really intimidated by the idea of applying for Harvard, as much as I was intimidated by the auditions for South Pacific. I learned that if I wanted something badly enough and really pursued it, I had a reasonable chance of success. It did wonders for my self-confidence.
In the 3 hours between the overture and the final curtain calls, performers experienced many different emotions. In order to help the audience to experience these emotions, the actor was required to thoroughly understand the character being portrayed. The most important step to a good characterization was a study of the character and his or her feelings and responses to all other members of the cast. Once the student knew who he was or she was, the rest was easy. Actions and reactions came naturally, and the portrayal moved beyond memorization to actualization. In a musical, dialogue is only one part of characterization. Vocal music is equally important, as songs give depth to the character and further plot development. Interpretation, gesture, and movement in dialogue, song, and dance contribute to the overall portrayal. Characters ran the gamut of emotions: uncertainty, confidence, naivete, sophistication, puzzlement, understanding, rejection, acceptance, hurt, healing, betrayal, forgiveness, and of course, love. All these emotions were hidden in each person. All that was necessary was to stand aside and watch the character bring laughter, tears, and enjoyment to all who shared this slice of life. Within the narrow musical outline, Crisis to End Act 1, Solution to End Act 2, all experienced a cross-section of life. The 30-year journey begins with comments written to a musical cast by an earlier participant.
There aren't many things that can make a person feel sick to the stomach, scared, nervous, have terminal goosebumps, tonsillitis, and amnesia all at one time, but being in an SM musical is definitely the cause. It only takes the first note of the overture and all the symptoms are cured.
values of a musical. While it is undoubtedly good public relations, the real value lies in the educational and cultural benefits to the students who participate. For those in the cast, it builds confidence and self-discipline. For those in the orchestra, it adds yet another dimension to their musical participation. For those who dance, it develops grace and poise. For those in the chorus, it offers a sense of being an important part of a unified effort. And for the large crew of backstage personnel, it gives experience in the areas of set design, artwork, and lighting. To all, it offers the knowledge that every person is important, and that teamwork and team spirit can earn the applause of an appreciative audience. In addition, it might point a direction for young people beginning to make career choices. The musical is, for many, the opportunity to uncover talents and appreciations which will afford a lifetime of pleasure and fulfillment. Youth Night was an important performance which served a number of purposes. The most obvious was that it forced the performers to carry through regardless of problems. The second, and perhaps more important purpose, was to introduce the younger students to the musical. In fact, many elementary students who dreamed of being on stage later performed in SM productions.
I used to sit in the audience and imagine being on stage, wearing those beautiful costumes.
Third purpose was the introduction of live theater to generations which grew up with television.
I just wanted to tell you that I really enjoyed Bye Bye Birdie, and I think it was a smashing success. I thought it was the best play I ever saw, mainly because it was acted out right in front of my eyes.
Finian's Rainbow was already in rehearsal when I joined Don in our continuing adventure.
The first 3 shows at the old building were done on the stage, but for Finian's Rainbow, Don decided to be innovative. The performers moved to the gym floor. Between the balconies, Al Pung, set construction and lighting coordinator, suspended a lighting frame. The pit orchestra and chorus, directed by Alex Zander, were positioned behind the performing areas, and the audience was seated on the remaining 3 sides. This arrangement gave more playing area and provided a friendlier atmosphere for the audience. The plot is a fantasy about an old Irishman who comes to America with a pot stolen from a leprechaun and the intention to make gold. The first prices came over the leprechaun's makeup. Should he be green or not? The reason won out. He wore green clothing.
Decided that our next presentation would be Annie Get Your Gun. At that time, the rental companies offered only signs, which gave the characters lines and cues. As this was before the advent of copiers, the summer was spent typing the script on ditto, so copies could be run off for the performers.
Staging with an audience on 3 sides proved so successful the year before that it was repeated. Unfortunately, the only way to get from one side of the stage to the other was to pass through the boys' locker room, which was doubling as their dressing room. Standard procedure was to open the door, yell, "Coming through," wait a few seconds, and then plunge ahead, looking neither right nor left. The highlight of the show was Annie riding on the back of a roaring motorbike and shooting a gun loaded with blanks. How this ever passed fire regulations is a mysterious secret. But it was the little extra which we sought for each show.
Brigadoon was the first show chosen for the present senior high building with its nice new cafetorium. The auditorium had been lost in the tax cut. At least the stage was larger and adjoined the music area. So, what happened the first year? Brigadoon was presented on the floor, under lights suspended from a 24 by 24 foot frame, with the audience seated in bleachers on 3 sides. These bleachers were usually used out of doors, and Don said he believed every janitor in town could have skinned us alive, for large sections of bleachers had to be dug out of the snow. The stage was not wasted. The orchestra played on stage behind a forest scrim. They weren't too happy, but it gave the presentation an unworldly appearance, perfectly suitable for a show about a town that came to life once every 100 years.
1962 also marked the appearance of the SM basketball team in the state tournament in Madison as one of the final 8. Fiona was a cheerleader, and Archie Beaton was one of the starting 5. The Saturday performance would have been postponed if the team had made it to the final game. Another soprano sang Fiona's songs for the Saturday matinee performances because Fiona's cheerleading had taken its toll. Next time, the sports calendar was checked more carefully. Props played an important role in the overall production. In an early scene, Tommy needed a coin to buy something in the market square, and to ensure that he would have one, Connie gave him a silver dollar. This coin was polished by his nervous fingers until it gleamed. Thus began a 25-year tradition. At each final dress rehearsal, the male lead would receive the silver dollar with good luck wishes. One lasting set piece was the bridge, which painted and repainted appeared quite often in outdoor scenes along with the tree stumps and the rocks from Finian's Rainbow. Recycling is the byword when you work with a small budget.
And finally, Heather had to be especially ordered as a prop, or Heather on the hip. Dancing is an important element of the musical. After much searching for a suitable reference for the choreography for the sword dance, an official textbook of Scottish Highland dancing was located. This text helped to add to the authenticity of the number. An emotional moment, for Archie it seemed a lifetime, came when he had to carry the lifeless body of his son Harry from the north door of the Commons to the playing area in a slow march, accompanied by bagpipes and a drum. With each step, the body became heavier, and Archie was relieved to lay it down on the stage floor.
Just been introduced. I do not know you well, but when the music started, something drew me to your side. So many men and girls are in each other's
With The King and I, Don fulfilled his ambition to present a play by Rodgers and Hammerstein. It was a challenging choice, exploring the contrast between East and West and the relationship between men and women.
The stage was used as it was meant to be, but sets and scenery were kept to a minimum, emphasizing the dramatic aspects of the show. Drapes and curtains tied with gold ropes and a few special set pieces were the extent of the scenery. The art department prepared elaborate masks and headpieces for the ballet, which tells the story of the small house of Uncle Thomas. Costumes were colorful but simple. To suggest crowns, all the Siamese princes and princesses wore chore boys held under the chin with elastic. This simplicity was offset by the strong cast and an outstanding orchestra and pit chorus.
In those days, coloring hair was a violation of the school dress code. So the king's wives all went to class wearing tags that read, thanks to Disney, "I am Siamese, if you please." Supermarkets had a run on bleach as mothers tried to wash the black dye out of clothes and pillowcases.
Early musicals were really an all-school effort. Many non-choir students played key roles. The king and his 6 palace guards were all members of the football team. The princes and princesses ranged in age from 2.5 to 10 or 11, including a set of 5-year-old twins. And many were kept up past their normal bedtime. A nursery was prepared for them with games, cots, food, and babysitters. After the last performance, as promised, all children could bang the huge gong.
Death of the King was an emotional scene, and orchestra members could see women in the audience lifting the veils of their hats to wipe their eyes. Ladies who were intense. Those were gentle.
Encouraged with the success of The King and I, we selected Oklahoma, another Rodgers and Hammerstein show, for our next performance. The high school was still new, and any mark on the wall brought immediate consequences. Imagine the turmoil that was created when Audrey Bartlett, scenic designer, wanted to paint a blue sky full of clouds on the rear wall of the stage. Permission was finally granted, with the provision that the wall be repainted institutional gray as soon as the production was over. The wall has been repainted, quite a few times actually, to brighten that blue sky and those white clouds.
The special effect for Oklahoma was a wicker spider Phaeton Surrey, pulled on stage so Curly and Laurie could leave for the honeymoon in style, with the men in the cast playing the horses.
South Pacific was the third in the string of Rodgers and Hammerstein shows. This was the year of Clark's Body Shop. Because a production took place in the South Pacific, many manly chests were bared, which, with arms and legs, needed to look suntanned. The cast honored Judy Clark, makeup coordinator, by renaming the makeup room for the occasion.
One detail, not readily seen by the audience, was the requirement that girls wear slips or petticoats under dresses and skirts. As Nellie dressed for her first entrance, she realized that the slip was missing. A few tucks shortened the one Connie was wearing, and the day was saved. Be sure to wear a slip. Iron your costumes so they don't look as if they came out of a dog's stomach, were frequent reminders through the years, along with Don's ever-popular admonishment as he repeatedly played the vamp, "Jump in, anytime." It was difficult to base audience reaction on youth night performance. Young people tended to be more interactive. For example, as Lieutenant Cable and Liat kissed, a voice from the audience was heard, "Gee, they hardly even know each other."
Nellie washed that man right out of her hair, but shampoo didn't foam enough, so we resorted to using shaving cream. This was before the advent of the handheld hairdryer, so the scene demanded a mad rush to the locker room, a quick shower still clothed, and a run to the wall dryer. Here Nellie stood, with her head under the dryer, as one crew member stripped off wet clothing, Nellie dried herself, and another crew member held her costume for the next scene so she could quickly step into it. All the while, her hair was being dried and styled for Emil's party scene.
The cast's lasting impression came one night a few days before performance. Rehearsals had begun at 9 a.m. Saturday morning. It was now nearly 11 p.m., and everyone was just about dead. The Bali High curtain, which had been designed by the art classes and painted in spare moments by cast members, was hung in place. The lights were played on it, and it was beautiful. Backlighting caused the lava to glow. Cast and crew all sat on the commons tables, a big no-no, and oohed and ahed.
all point to the lovely young women who graced the SM stage.
We got sunlight on the sand, we got moonlight on the sea. We got mangoes and bananas you can pick right off a tree. We got volleyball and baseball and a lot of mini games. Oh, what ain't we got? We ain't got games. We get packages from home. We get movies, we get shows. We get speeches from our skipper and advice from Tokyo Road. We get letters stuffed with pictures. We get dizzy from the smell. Oh, what don't we get? You know damn well. We got nothing to put on a clean white suit for. What we need is water, ain't no substance. There is nothing like a day, nothing in the world. There is nothing you can name that is anything like a day. So suppose a day made bright, or completely free from snow, or a space for a bird dog, or it's kind of Santa Claus. It's a waste of time to worry over things that they have not, or be thankful for the things they've got. There is nothing you can name that is anything like a day. There are no books like a day, and nothing looks like a day. There are no drinks like a day, and nothing thinks like a day, and nothing acts like a day, or attracts like a day. There ain't a thing that's wrong with saying that here. It can't keep good by putting him near, or showing what you
Flower Drum Song may have had generational problems on stage, but off stage our problems were greater. February 26th found Don in the hospital awaiting back surgery. In a note to the cast he wrote, "Time is imperative, the doctors feel, and they are in full knowledge of Flower Drum Song and are being sincere in giving their advice. To wait would be taking a chance on sudden paralysis. I feel very sorry for unloading more headaches on the shoulders of Trooper Uren, but I truly hope everyone will be extra helpful and considerate of this. One doctor predicts I could be conducting Flower Drum Song. This is most encouraging as it gives me something to work for physically." Hearing this prognosis, the administration said, "Cancel the show." I met with all cast members who decided to keep the musical tradition alive. The administrators relented and allowed the show to go on. What followed was weeks of dialogue and blocking rehearsals in the evening, chorus and dancing all day Saturday, and vocal leads on Sunday afternoons at the home of Bruce Pomahawk, student orchestra assistant to Art Drew's orchestra director, who was recovering from a heart attack. Confucius always had a suitable saying, "The gem cannot be polished without friction, nor man perfected without trials." And after the final dress rehearsal, when it looked like adversity had been beaten, "It is better to look the dragon in the eye than have him breathing down your neck."
There were 175 participants and one dragon, 8 feet high and 30 feet long, carried by 7 people. Again, we cast from all SM students. One dancer was an all-suburban conference fullback. The work paid off with 2 encore performances at the Humboldt Park Band Show, and Don did return to conduct both at school and at the park.
unprepared for a surprise on dress rehearsal night. The music attracted people who were strolling through the park, and soon the benches were filling, and our dress rehearsal turned into an extra performance. This boosted confidence. When we arrived performance night, to find a clothes rack had broken and all the costumes were in a heap on the floor. Fortunately, Don's mother-in-law lived a block from the park and was unfazed when strangers came to her door asking to use an iron and ironing board. For future encore performances, these items